My nephew got wasted at the family barbecue and shouted, "She's just the bitter aunt who buys everyone off." Everyone giggled. I just drove home. The next day I quietly did this. And my nephew's life began to fall apart. It always starts the same way. My sister calls me the week before a family event and says something like, "It would mean a lot to mom and dad if you could come. And bring that fruit tart they like. Oh, and could you also cover the grill rental? I'll Venmo you later." She never Venmos me later. I still say yes. I'm 40. No husband, no kids. I never thought that would be a problem until everyone else in my family decided it was. I've built a good life for myself. Steady job in tech, nice house, dog named Ruby. But none of that matters to them. In their eyes, I'm the spare. The one who was supposed to make up for her lack of children by obsessing over everyone else's. And I did. For years. Especially with my nephew Tyler. Tyler is 21 now. I've helped him since he was a kid. Private tutors in high school. Rent money every month since he moved off campus. Paid off his used Honda. Bought him a laptop. All while my sister kept telling me it was the least I could do since I wasn't tied down. I didn't argue. I thought I was being generous. Supportive. I thought they appreciated it. Then came the barbecue. It was at my parents' house like always. Everyone was there. My mom, my dad, my sister Melissa, her husband Brian, their kids, our cousins, the usual parade. I showed up with the fruit tart and a $150 meat tray because, of course, there was a last-minute issue with the grill. My cardigan. Tyler was already drinking when I arrived. Not beer. I'm talking full-on whiskey, neat like he thought he was starring in a movie about being a reckless prodigy. He was surrounded by his younger cousins, acting like the cool older brother. I tried to smile, tried to ignore the little digs he threw my way all afternoon. Stuff like, "Jess, you still live alone? Man, that's crazy." Or, "You probably have the cleanest house on earth with no one messing it up." Then the moment. We were all standing in the backyard. Tyler was wasted by then. My dad had gone inside, Melissa was laughing too loud at something Brian said, and I was refilling my iced tea. Tyler stood on one of the lawn chairs, bottle in hand, and shouted something that got everyone's attention. He said, "You all know she's just the bitter aunt who buys everyone off, right? Like, come on. I mean, thanks for the tuition and the rent and the laptop, but let's be real, this is just her way of pretending she matters." Everyone laughed. Not loud. Not long. But enough. A few chuckles, some smirks. Melissa didn't even flinch. I didn't say anything. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't cry. I got in my car, drove home, and sat in silence for an hour. Ruby curled up next to me on the couch, sensing something was off. And I just thought, this is what they really think. This is what I've been funding. That night, I opened my laptop and made a list. A real list. Of every expense I'd covered for Tyler in the last 3 years. It totaled over $36,000. And that's when I decided I was done. Not just with the money, but with the version of myself that thought she had to keep paying to be respected. The next day I started making quiet moves. Tyler didn't know it yet, but his entire safety net was about to disappear. The first thing I did was cancel the automatic transfer I had set up for Tyler's rent. He'd never even asked for it. Melissa did back when he was starting college. She'd said, "It's just temporary until he finds his footing." That was 3 years ago. Every first of the month, $1,200 out of my account, no thank you, no update, nothing. I also emailed the landlord. Told her Tyler would need to take over full payment starting next month. She replied quickly, polite but clearly surprised. I didn't explain. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. Melissa didn't notice right away. Tyler definitely didn't. But I knew what would happen, and I didn't have to wait long. 3 weeks later I got a call from him. He started with, "Hey Aunt Jess, I think there's a mistake with the rent," followed by a long pause, waiting for me to jump in and fix it. I didn't. I told him it wasn't a mistake. That he was 21. That I had covered more than enough and it was time for him to be responsible for himself. He stammered something about how college was hard, how he had midterms, how I'd always said I wanted to support him. I told him I did. I had. But now I was done. There was silence. Then he hung up. Melissa called an hour later. No greeting. Just, "Are you seriously pulling this right now?" She said Tyler was stressed enough as it was, that I was putting him in a terrible position. She brought up how I never had kids, how I didn't understand what it meant to raise one. That part hit harder than I thought it would. But I stayed calm. Told her I wasn't doing this anymore. I wasn't the fallback parent. I wasn't the family A-team. I said I wished Tyler well, but I was out. She told me to think about it. I told her I already had. That week I got 3 texts from other family members. Cousin Amy said Melissa was venting to everyone about how Jessica's abandoning the family. Uncle Dave wrote me something vague about how we all need support sometimes. My mom just sent a heart emoji and said she hoped I was okay. No one asked what Tyler said at the barbecue. No one asked how I felt. Then came the final blow. A reminder email about Tyler's fall tuition. $16,087. Payment due in 2 weeks. I didn't pay it. I didn't reply. I let the deadline pass. Melissa called again the next morning. This time she was crying. She said Tyler's enrollment was on hold. He'd missed registration for his final credits. His financial aid was frozen because it was tied to my matching payment. He might not graduate on time. I listened. I said I was sorry. And I meant it. I was sorry it had come to this. Sorry it had taken me years to realize that the more I gave, the more they resented me for it. Tyler called that night. No apology. Just anger. Said I'd ruined everything. Said he was counting on me. That I'd let him down just to prove a point. That was the last time we spoke. Melissa sent a long message the next day, full of guilt trips and half-baked insults. Then silence. Weeks passed. I started sleeping better. And for the first time in a long time I began thinking about what I wanted. I expected the silence. What I didn't expect was how peaceful it would feel. No more late-night Venmo requests from Melissa. No more cryptic texts from Tyler asking if I could spot him for something small. No more guilt. No more pressure. I'd wake up in the morning and feel light. Like someone had quietly lifted a weight off my chest while I was sleeping. At first, the family group chat went suspiciously quiet. No recipes. No political arguments. Not even those grainy low-res photos from my mom's garden. It was like they'd decided to freeze me out, see how long I'd last. I think they thought I'd crack. That I'd come back a few weeks later apologizing for my mood and offering to cover spring tuition or help Tyler find a new apartment. I didn't crack. Dad, I booked a trip. Nothing major, just a solo weekend to Mendocino. I got a little cottage through one of those sites, packed a book I'd been meaning to finish for 2 years, and didn't tell anyone I was going. I walked along the cliffs, ate dinner alone at a place with white tablecloths and real candlelight, and for the first time in forever no one needed anything from me. A bartender named Lucas asked me what I did for fun. I couldn't answer. I froze. I realized I didn't have anything that was mine. Not really. Everything in my life had revolved around being useful. When I got home things had shifted. Melissa posted some vague quote about betrayal and family not being about blood. I got a passive-aggressive email from my mom asking if I was okay, and if I wanted to talk things through with Pastor Dan. I ignored both. But then something unexpected happened. My cousin Nathan reached out. We weren't close, he's always been more of a background person in the family, but he messaged me out of nowhere and said he'd heard what happened. He said he'd watched Melissa treat me like a personal assistant for years and always felt it was wrong, but didn't want to get in the middle. Then he said, "I'm glad you finally stood up for yourself." A few days later, Lindsay from work, recently divorced, 2 kids, invited me to her trivia team. It was at this dive bar near the office. I said yes. It felt small, but it was something. The second week I went, there was a new guy at our table. Dirk. He was 32. Quiet but confident. He ordered an obscure local beer, answered every geography question without hesitation, and smiled at me like he saw right through my sarcasm. After trivia, he walked me to my car and asked if I liked tacos. I said yes. The next night he picked me up in an old Jeep and we ate tacos in a park and talked until it got cold. He kissed me before I got out of the car. Then he said, "I hope that wasn't weird." It wasn't. We started texting more. Then seeing each other more. A few weeks in, he stayed the night. The next morning I made coffee and we stood in my kitchen barefoot like we'd done it 100 times before. It was natural. Easy. Melissa must have noticed. She lived 5 blocks away and I'd seen her car cruise past my street more than once that week. So, like she was checking for something. 3 nights later, Derek's car was in my driveway again. That's when everything cracked open. The morning started like any other. Coffee, a quiet house, Derek still asleep upstairs. I was halfway through making scrambled eggs when I saw her. Melissa, standing at the edge of my driveway like she owned it. No warning. No call. Just arms crossed, sunglasses on, staring at Derek's Jeep in my driveway like she was inspecting a crime scene. I opened the front door but didn't say anything right away. She didn't wait for an invite. "So this is what you're doing now?" She walked right up, eyes flicking toward the upstairs window like she expected to see something scandalous. I stayed still. "You really think this is going to last? Some guy almost 10 years younger, probably just using you for a place to crash and someone to sleep with?" I told her to go home. She stepped closer. "This is just sad, Jess. You're chasing after something you're never going to have. You're not like other people, okay? You don't get the fairy tale. You're the one who fills in the gaps. You always have been." Then she crossed the line. She said, "You really thought throwing money at my kid would make you feel like a mother?" The front door opened. Derek stood there barefoot wearing my robe holding his coffee like he just stepped into the middle of a bad sitcom. He looked at her calmly, didn't say anything for a beat. Then quietly, "You need to leave." Melissa blinked like she couldn't believe he was real. Like she'd imagined some scruffy, unemployed rebound guy and was now facing something she couldn't dismiss. Derek didn't raise his voice, didn't posture, he just stood there steady and solid. And for once, Melissa had nothing to say. She turned, walked off the property, and drove away without slamming the door or spinning her tires. Inside, I sat on the couch, heart still thudding in my chest. Derek sat next to me and didn't ask anything. He just reached for my hand. I felt embarrassed. Not because of what she said, but because I'd let her take up that much space in my life for that long. An hour later, I checked my phone. My mom had sent me an email. 3 paragraphs of carefully worded disappointment. She said Melissa was deeply hurt, that Tyler was still trying to recover, and that I needed to consider how my choices were affecting the family. At the very end, she wrote, "This isn't the Jessica we know." I stared at those words. They were right. The Jessica they knew would have sent another tuition payment out of guilt. Would have driven over to Melissa's house and apologized for causing tension. Would have spent the next 6 months trying to earn back the approval of people who only showed up when there was something to take. That Jessica was gone. That afternoon, I opened my laptop and clicked on a listing I'd been eyeing for weeks. A small coastal house. Big porch. Quiet neighborhood. 3 states away. I'd already emailed the realtor once. I sent another message. "I'm ready to move forward." Then I opened another tab. I looked at my own house. The one I'd bought 15 years ago. The one I'd filled with holiday dinners and gifts I couldn't afford. I took a picture of the front lawn and uploaded it to a Sell Your Home site. I filled out a request for an appraisal. 2 hours later, a moving company called me back. I didn't tell my family. Not yet. I just went upstairs, climbed into bed next to Derek, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running from something. I felt like I was finally running towards something. The strangest thing about deciding to leave was how quiet everything became. I didn't expect it. I thought there would be more backlash. More calls, more accusations, more pleas wrapped in guilt. But once Melissa realized I wasn't reacting anymore, she stopped pushing. Tyler never followed up on the screenshot he'd sent of the overdue balance. Not a word from him since. My mom called once, left a long voicemail about how she wished we could all go back to the way things used to be. I never returned it. I started sorting through every drawer, every closet. It was like peeling away layers of someone else's life. A life I didn't even remember choosing. Old birthday cards from Tyler with barely legible signatures, leftover party favors from years of hosting Thanksgivings, a box full of receipts from things I'd paid for but couldn't remember buying. One night, I found a folder tucked in the back of my filing cabinet. Inside was the first invoice for Tyler's SAT tutor. 6 years ago. I'd paid $3,800 up front. I laughed. Then I shredded the whole folder. Derek started spending every night at my place. He helped me patch up holes in the walls, sold some of my old furniture online, made me breakfast while I sorted through paperwork. Sometimes I'd catch him watching me like he was waiting for me to fall apart. I didn't. Not because it wasn't emotional, it was. But because the grief had already passed. What I felt now was a kind of quiet clarity. I had nothing left to prove. Not to them. Not to myself. I listed the house and it sold in 4 days. Full offer. No inspection. I was brushing my teeth the morning after I signed the sale papers when I got the message. Melissa again. One line. "You think you won, but you just guaranteed no one will ever show up for you." I stared at it for a full minute, then deleted it. Later that day, I ran into my mom at the grocery store. Total accident. She was in the produce section holding a bag of oranges and she just froze. I thought she might walk away. But she didn't. She asked how I was. I said I was okay. She asked if I'd really sold the house. I nodded. She asked if I'd thought about Tyler's future. I told her I'd thought about it every day for years, and that's exactly why I was walking away. Then she said something that stuck with me. "You know your sister's never going to get over this." I looked at her and said, "Maybe she's not supposed to." That night, Derek and I sat on the floor in the empty living room, 2 camping chairs, a takeout pizza, 1 last bottle of wine. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a key. Not to his apartment, to the new house. He'd already signed the lease. He said, "This doesn't have to be just your restart. It can be ours." I didn't cry. I just took the key and put it on my keychain. The next morning, before the sun came up, we loaded the Jeep. Ruby hopped in the back like she knew something was changing. I stood in the doorway for one last second, just to make sure I felt what I thought I'd feel. Relief. No sadness. No regret. Not because there hadn't been good memories in that house. There had. But because I'd spent too long staying where I wasn't valued. waiting for people to see me for who I was. And now I was done waiting. We pulled out of the driveway and didn't look back. I wasn't just leaving a house. I was leaving the role I'd been cast in. The bitter aunt, the fixer, the one who was always available, always quiet, always convenient. I was done being convenient. We moved into the new house on a Tuesday. It was raining, the soft, steady kind that makes everything smell like earth and something new. The neighborhood was quiet, older homes with big porches and neighbors who nodded instead of asking questions. The ocean was a 10-minute walk. I unpacked my kitchen first, then my books. Derek set up a coffee corner by the window. Ruby explored every inch of the backyard like she'd been waiting her whole life to claim it. It didn't feel like a fresh start. Felt like the first real start. Derek was working remote, same as me. Our routines slowly braided together. Coffee in the morning. Walks in the evening. Sunday breakfasts with no noise, no obligations. We'd go into town sometimes, sit at a cafe where no one knew us. Once the waitress assumed we were on our honeymoon. I didn't correct her. We talked about marriage. We didn't rush it. I didn't need the title to know he was home. One night, maybe 3 months after we'd settled in, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Melissa. Inside was a single photo. One from that barbecue. I was off to the side holding a plate, smiling. Tyler was laughing with someone in the background. I remembered that moment. I'd made a joke about forgetting the napkins and everyone had laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. I remember thinking, this is what family looks like. She hadn't written anything else. Just the photo. I didn't reply. A few weeks later, I heard through my cousin Nathan that Tyler had dropped out. Took a break that turned into something longer. He'd moved back in with Melissa. Apparently, he was working nights somewhere, still blaming everyone but himself. Nathan said, he keeps waiting for someone to bail him out. I didn't ask for more. I didn't need to know. That part of my life was a closed door. I didn't lock it out of anger. I just didn't want to live in a hallway anymore. Stuck between rooms waiting to be let in. And for the first time in a long time, I stopped thinking about what I'd lost. I started thinking about what I could build. I started gardening. Small stuff. Tomatoes, basil, lavender. I joined a local book club. I hosted a dinner with actual candles and mismatched plates, and no one criticized the wine. Derek and I took a weekend trip up the coast. We got caught in the rain. We danced in the hotel room to music playing from his phone. He looked at me like I was the best part of the story. And maybe for once I was. Somewhere back home, my sister is probably still telling her version of things. That I gave up. That I walked away from the people who needed me. But she's wrong. I didn't walk away from them. I walked toward me. And I'm not sorry. Not even a little. Sometimes I still get the urge to check their social media. Old habits. But I don't. I've learned that peace isn't something you stumble into. It's something you protect. Some nights I sit on the porch watching the sun drop behind the trees, and I think about how long I stayed in a place that never saw me clearly. How long I confused obligation with love. Now I know better. And knowing better has made all the difference. Has made all the difference. Has made all the difference.